This is a normal keyboard and mouse. It's how most people play video games, using WSD for the movement and the mouse for aiming. Each key corresponds for a different movement. The problem with this, however, is that 3 fingers of your hand are reserved to just movement. Keybinds, like weapons, ability slots, and for Fortnite build menus. On my old keybinds, it was pretty much impossible for me to move to the left and right while building. This was due to the fact that my wall and ramp keybinds are my pointing finger and my ring finger. Well, what are the solutions to this? Well, I know what you're thinking, alright. Just switch to more optimal binds, then this wouldn't be a problem. Well, what if I told you there was a solution that was better? A solution that was completely original, definitely. That required little relearning and muscle memory. And that device is a keyboard joystick. Basically what it is a controller that only has the joystick. They slap it on the bottom of the keyboard, and if you use this method, that means you can use one finger, your thumb, for all movement. Instead of using up 3 fingers for movement, you're now only using 1. With WSD, you can only move diagonal, left, right, and forward. By using a joystick, you have full 360 movement. It's actually really good for games like Fortnite and other games where movement is very important. Now, this is not a novel idea. After searching, I found these products on YouTube, and I have a plan. So, because I have a 3D printer and I have access to a soldering iron, I thought, how do I even make my own joystick controller thingy? So, I need a game plan. I'm gonna create a working keyboard joystick and make it cost less than the ones I found online. And if I fail this project, then, you guys don't have to subscribe. Because I don't know anything about controllers or joysticks or anything, I turned to Reddit. So I made this post. After getting a couple walls of text, I figured out what I needed to buy. First, a joystick module and an Arduino. This is basically what's going to control the motherboard, the mainframe of the joystick of the controller. So yeah. Alright, so now that I found the products on Amazon and ordered them, now I gotta figure out how I'm actually gonna model this case and put them in there and make it actually work. Why did I decide to do this? So after hours of 3D modeling, tutorials, and everything, and figuring out how to become a pro 3D modeler, since I don't really know much, this is my first model. Now after 3D printing it, curing it, and basically processing the resin, this is what it looks like. And yeah, for this one I was way too hopeful. This one literally had a problem with the joystick mount was way too big. Basically from the start, I was copying it off of another project I saw on Thingiverse, but it didn't actually fit the joystick that I had. So after remodeling and changing everything in the design and reinventing the wheel, I finally finished the second model. And yeah, it was way too small. After curing it and finishing it, comparing it to the previous model is literally insane. This thing was way too small, did not have enough space to fit the Arduino or any of the cables. So I ended up scrapping it. And there was also minor problems with the mount not fitting the joystick. At this point, I was kind of disappointed because each print takes about 8 hours to make each. 3D printing is a very slow technology, however it can be really accurate considering I do have a resin printer and not a regular FDM 3D printer. Alright, so now I had to completely lock in. I decided to make some more parts that were removable in the next joystick. The next model, the joystick mount, the joystick cap, and there was a back plate in the back that was removable. These would all help me cable manage it, and make sure that the joystick worked. You see, if the mount didn't work this time, I could just print it out again, make some slight changes, and hope that it made it actually fit. Although I thought this was a smart move, yeah, there was no way to fit the Arduino into the case. The hole I made in the back was just way too small. So I immediately had to move on to the next revision of the body. So yeah. The fourth joystick module I made was actually a lot better. I decided to make the back cover completely removable, and then I kept the same features from the previous version. Now, everything here was completely editable. If I made any mistake in the modeling or anything, I could just 3D print the specific part. And yeah, this version of the model went through a lot of revision.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
So the main problem with this model was that the cap was just having so many issues for me. The first cap I printed out for this was just the same one printed over and over again from the previous models. However, this was the first time I actually got to test it with the joystick module actually inside of it. The joystick's movement was heavily restricted, only going half the way the joystick's range was. So my first solution to this was using the Xbox faceplate model from Thingiverse. However, this cap, when implemented, created way too much friction with the thumbstick in the cap. This caused the joystick to get stuck in certain areas and just overall be a bad experience. Also, this joystick cap did not solve the issue with the range of the joystick being limited. My final joystick cap for this version was completely stupid. I literally just made a really wide opening to allow for a full range of the joystick. This was not the best solution to this problem as it looked really ugly, but that was not the only problem I was dealing with. Since the lid on this joystick was a lot larger, I had a lot more options with the joystick's cover. The first one I tried for this was a very thin one that had basically no space for cable management. After installing the first Arduino, the cables would be poking through the case, so there's no way to fit the top cover onto it. The way the model was designed, the pins for the joystick from the Arduino were right under the lid of the model, so there was no option for the joystick cover to be flat. So my solution to this was a really clunky and like really chunky looking cover, and I think you guys can see where this went wrong. The ergonomics on this joystick were really bad. Even though it worked, like it was actually so sharp on the edges, and since I'm not the greatest modeler, I really did not know how to make it smooth. Overall, I think it was time for a new version of the joystick, and this will be my last, final version. And yeah, hopefully it works. So, after curing different resin, clear resin, and everything changed, the model did not fit with the Arduino, so let's just move on to the other reprint. After I expanded the walls a little bit, the Arduino fit perfectly. The problem with the previous designs was that the Arduino was mounted flat on spec. The wires would be bending straight up. To fix this, I rotated the Arduino 90 degrees so that the wires would be going out to the side. Another major change I made with this version is now that the thumbstick is a lot thinner. This fixed my issues of not having the full range of the joystick. Now, for the final result. Well, not really. When I plugged in the joystick, I still had to do the coding. After asking around on Reddit and making a couple posts, they told me how to code it and where I could find the X input library. This basically makes the Arduino act as an Xbox controller. After playing around with the code a little bit, I got it to work, and now it just plugs in like a regular controller. There was only one problem though. Let's watch. As I was moving the joystick forward, the plane shown on the screen would actually be going backwards. This is actually because the case I made was completely flipped around, and I needed to fix this. To do this, I first went on Rewas. This is a well-known tool for changing and remapping controller bindings and using them for many different things. I also tried a whole bunch of different other ones, whether they were way too complicated or just like really old and outdated. However, my Rewas trial was only 3 days long for the features I needed, so I needed a better way to do this. I decided to make this post in r/controller. Once again, Reddit clutched up and carried me through this project. Using the Steam launcher, you can import any game into that folder, even if it's not a Steam game. You can also set a controller key bindings for that game specifically. So for Fortnite, I was able to edit my controls and flip around my joystick inputs. This meant now I had all the features from Rewas for free. The only thing was I had to open up the game through Steam. Alright, now time to add up the final prices. Did I actually make this for way cheaper than I found it from those products on YouTube? For the joystick models, I paid $9.70. For the wires, it cost me $8.49. And for the Arduino boards, it cost me $22.49. For the solderer and the resin, I guess I'll add a little bit. Total I've calculated to is $45.98. While you may be thinking that's really close to the budget of the cheapest product I found on Google/YouTube, this does not include the fact that the thumbstick was a 2-pack and the Arduino was a 3-pack. I also have 120 pieces of wire, so I'll have so much left over from this project. So if I wanted to make this again, I could if I just bought one more thumbstick. But considering I only had the stuff to make 2, I would just divide the price by 2. This is not even the cheapest way to make it. There are way cheaper joystick modules. If you really wanted to make one of these joysticks, hold on, let me do some math real quick. You could make it for $25.86. That's literally half the price of any competitor I found online. And also for the Azeron whatever, yeah. Well, I would recommend buying those cheap joystick modules. Go for it. So, did it actually make me a better gamer? Well, I mostly played Fortnite and also some other games just to test it out. And I can say confidently that it actually did help me. Games feel a lot better now, and especially when there's driving parts, I feel more like I'm on controller. It's also really good that I was able to keep my same muscle memory with only just swapping out jumping and crouching. One problem with this, however, is that my hands are pretty small. So whenever I rest my hands using this joystick, my hands rest on a lower level of keys, meaning that I only have access to the spacebar and the keys above it. The spacebar blocks off most of my fingers from going down to do anything different. However, I don't think this actually matters. Now that I've freed up 3 of my fingers, I think most optimal binds will all fit into these 2 layers of keys. I think this is a great idea for someone who wants to switch from controller to keyboard and mouse. This will retain their controller movement and also the same fundamentals there, but bring over the keyboard and mouse aim and like the better control scheme. And as for results, here's my gameplay on day 1 of using this. And here's my gameplay on day 7 of using it in Fortnite. Thanks. Even if a game does not natively work with controller and keyboard, it still will work if you use the joystick as a WASD device. The STL files will be in the description, and also comment if you think I should sell the extra one I have. Anyways, thanks for watching. Also, let me know if any of you guys decide to actually make one.
My like equals 1 rip for Colombo.